She's ignoring you, and you're dying to know why. Here's the one secret about women that'll change how you play the game forever. Want to know what makes her tick when she goes cold? Stick with me, warrior, because I'm revealing 7 Stoic secrets that'll turn her silence into your superpower. You'll learn how to stay calm, flip the script, and become the man she can't stop thinking about, all without chasing or begging. If you're ready to unlock the truth about women and take back your power, smash that like button, and let's dive in. Gentlemen warriors, welcome to the channel where we forge men of steel will and unbreakable strength. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. This is your wake-up call to become the man you were born to be. Picture this, you're texting a girl you're into, and suddenly nothing. No reply, no call, just silence. Or maybe she's acting distant, brushing you off, leaving you wondering what the hell happened. Your stomach twists, your mind races. Did I mess up? Is she done with me? We've all been there, and it sucks. That silence feels like a knife cutting into your confidence. But here's the truth that'll flip your world upside down. Her silence isn't your defeat. It's your chance to shine. Today, we're cracking the code on why women go quiet and how you can use it to build a rock-solid mindset that makes you unstoppable. We're diving into 7 Stoic secrets straight from legends like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, mixed with real-world tricks to keep you in control. Whether you're a mechanic, a student, or a guy just trying to figure women out, this is for you. Let's turn her silence into your victory and show the world what a high-value man looks like. Ready? Let's roll. Why does her silence hit so hard? When a woman ignores you, it's like a punch you didn't see coming. Maybe it's a girl you're dating, a crush, or someone you thought was into you. That quiet, those unanswered texts, that cold vibe feels personal. It stings because we're built to want connection, to feel valued, especially by people we care about. So when she goes dark, your brain goes wild. What did I do? Is she mad? Is there another guy? Your emotions hijack you, and suddenly you're stuck in a spiral of doubt. Sound like you? Don't worry, that's human. But here's where you break free. Her silence isn't about you. It's about her, her mood, her life, or maybe she's testing you to see how you'll react. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled an empire through chaos, said you have power over your mind, not outside events. Her silence. It's an outside event. You can't control it, but you can control your response. That's your edge, warrior. This moment when she pulls away is your shot to prove you're different, to show you're a man who doesn't crack under pressure. Here's the crazy part. Her silence is a gift. I know it sounds nuts, but hear me out. Most guys see her going quiet as a rejection and they fall apart. They spam her with texts, get clingy, or let their self-esteem crumble. But you're going to see her silence as a mirror. It shows you where you're strong and where you need work. Ask yourself, why does her not replying make you feel small? Is your worth really tied to her attention? Newsflash, it's not. Your value is yours, forged by your actions, not her opinion. Seneca, the Stoic who faced exile and lost, said we suffer more in imagination than in reality. That pain you're feeling, it's not her silence. It's your mind spinning tales of failure. Her silence is your chance to rewrite those tales, to build a mindset so tough that no one's actions can shake you. That's the gift. It's not about her. It's about you becoming a man who stands tall no matter what. Secret 1: accept what you can't control. The first Stoic secret is simple but powerful. Accept what you can't control. You can't force her to text you back. You can't make her care, and you shouldn't want to. Chasing someone who's pulling away is like running after a train that's already left the station. You're just wasting your energy. The Stoics were laser-focused on this. Control what's in your power, your thoughts, your actions, your growth. Everything else, let it go. Take my buddy Tony, a regular guy who was crazy about this girl Emma. She started ghosting him. No texts, no calls, just radio silence. Tony was wrecked. He sent her long messages, checked her socials obsessively, and couldn't focus on anything else. Then he stumbled across Stoicism and tried a new approach. He accepted that Emma's silence was out of his hands. Instead of chasing her, he focused on what he could control, getting back to the gym, crushing it at his job, and hanging with his boys. A few months later, Emma texted him out of the blue, but Tony was already a new man. He didn't need her to feel good. That's what acceptance does. It's not giving up. It's claiming your power. It says, I see you stepping back, and I'm still solid. Secret 2 is where you start playing smart. Use reverse psychology. Women are intuitive. They expect you to react to their silence in predictable ways. Maybe you'll blow up their phone, get pissed, or try to win them over with some big gesture. That's what most guys do, and it's exactly what she's counting on. But you're not most guys. You're going to do the opposite. Show her you're not rattled. Act like her silence doesn't even faze you. Here's the play. She stops texting. Don't send another message. She's acting cold. Match her energy. Pull back too. This isn't about being a jerk or playing games. It's about showing you don't need her validation to feel whole. Women test men sometimes without even realizing it. They want to see if they can throw you off balance. When you stay calm and unbothered, it messes with their head. Suddenly she's thinking, why isn't he chasing me? What's he up to? Her curiosity lights up and the dynamic shifts. She might start reaching out, not because you tricked her, but because you showed you're a man who stands firm. Epictetus, the Stoic who rose from slavery to wisdom, said no man is free who is not master of himself. Reverse psychology is you mastering yourself. It's saying, I'm not begging for your attention. I've got my own life to live, and let me tell you, warrior, nothing pulls people in like a man who's secure in his own skin. You don't chase, you attract. Secret 3. Turn her silence into your fuel. Secret 3 is where you start building your empire. Turn her silence into fuel for your growth. When she ignores you, it's easy to get trapped in your head, replaying every text, wondering where you went wrong. That's a loser's game. The real move is to take that energy and pour it into becoming the best version of you. Picture this. Jake, a guy I know, got ghosted by a girl he was into. He could have mopped, but instead he flipped the switch. He started hitting the gym hard, took a coding boot camp, and began saving for a side hustle. 6 months later, he was jacked, skilled, and making moves toward a better career. Alpha male energy, as you put it in one of our chats. That girl, she saw his glow up on social media and slid back into his texts. But Jake was too focused on his grind to care. That's the Stoic way. The best revenge isn't winning her back. It's becoming so great that her opinion doesn't matter. Marcus Aurelius said, "The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing." Her silence is a wrestling match, and you're in the ring. Use it to train. Hit the weights. Learn a trade, stack your cash, or chase a passion. Every step you take builds your strength. When you focus on your growth, you stop craving her validation. You become a man who builds empires with or without her. Secret 4. Reframe silence as your freedom. There's a moment every man knows, that long, cold silence after a message goes unanswered. The pause after a call is dodged. The days that stretch with no sign of her. And in that moment, something breaks open inside of you. It's not rage, not even heartbreak. It's doubt. But here's the truth that most men never learn, and even fewer master. Her silence is not rejection, it's revelation. And more than that, it's opportunity. See, you were taught to interpret her silence as a punishment, as a sign that you weren't enough, that you need to do more, prove more, beg louder, try harder. But that belief, it's the very thing that keeps you trapped, chained to her validation, hooked on the illusion that your value rises or falls based on her attention. Stoicism shatters that illusion. It teaches us that we do not suffer because of what happens to us, we suffer because of how we interpret it. And once you stop interpreting her silence as abandonment, you start seeing it as space. Space to breathe, space to think, space to become dangerous again. Because a man who knows how to sit in silence without unraveling, he becomes unstoppable. The problem is, most men panic in the quiet. They rush to fill it with apologies, with explanations, with late-night paragraphs trying to fix what was never theirs to carry. And every time they do that, they hand their power away. But you right now, you're being given a choice. You can treat her silence like a wall you can't get through, or like a door you never knew was open. Because here's the truth. Silence isn't a void. It's a mirror. It shows you who you are when no one's watching, no one responding, no one choosing you. And if what you see in that mirror is a man begging for worth, then silence is your wake-up call. But if what you start to see is a man sharpening in solitude, then silence becomes sacred. That's the Stoic lens. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can a man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." You thought her attention was your peace. It never was. Your peace is what you reclaim when the noise stops. Because when she goes quiet and you don't flinch, you send a message without saying a word. I don't fear your absence. I've met myself in deeper silence than this. And brother, that's where the real shift happens. She expected confusion. She expected reaction. What she didn't expect was calm. When you stop chasing her explanation, when you stop waiting for her apology, you start walking back to yourself. You start using the silence to build. Build your body, your focus, your mind, your circle, your presence, You start becoming so rooted, so purpose-driven, that her absence doesn't shake you anymore. Because you've finally understood. You were never hers to ignore. She was simply given a front-row seat to a man in progress, and she walked away before the show got good. So what now? You don't need revenge. You don't need games. You need ritual. You need to turn her silence into your structure, her distance into your discipline, her coldness into your clarity. And over time, something incredible happens. That silence which once stung like rejection becomes your favorite place to grow. No distractions, no drama, no waiting, just progress. And she starts to wonder why the man who once reached for her has stopped, why the energy shifted, why the silence now feels like hers, not yours. That's when you know the power flipped, because silence redefined by a grounded man becomes a weapon, not of aggression, but of control, of self-possession, of freedom. So if you're sitting in that silence right now, if you feel that ache, but refuse to beg, if you're using every moment of her withdrawal to reclaim a piece of your power, then type this in the comments: I choose freedom, because the man who stops chasing noise and starts mastering silence, he doesn't just get over her, he outgrows her, and that destroys her ego more than any word ever could. Secret 5. Forge emotional armor. You know what's exhausting? Giving someone else the power to decide how you feel. Letting their silence dictate your worth. letting their hot and cold behavior pull you in and push you out like waves you're too tired to fight anymore. But this moment you're in now, it's not weakness. It's a forge, a fire. And if you're paying attention, it's the exact place where you start building something. Every real man needs emotional armor. Now, I'm not talking about pretending you don't care. That's denial. I'm talking about becoming the kind of man who feels everything but doesn't flinch. The kind who gets hurt but doesn't collapse. The kind who hears silence not as a threat, but as training. Because here's the truth, emotional pain is inevitable. People will ghost you, disrespect you, forget you. You'll pour out your heart to someone who doesn't even bother to acknowledge it. You'll give too much, too fast. And when it all goes quiet, you'll feel that burn in your chest and wonder if you're just not enough. But what you do next, that's what separates the man who stays wounded from the man who sharpens through it. Most men reach for distraction. They numb it out with texts to someone else, with dopamine, with anything that fills the void. But what you need is to sit in it, to listen to the silence, to feel everything she made you question, and then slowly, quietly start rebuilding, not for her, not for the next woman, not even for revenge, for yourself. Emotional armor is forged when you stop making your emotional stability dependent on her attention. When you wake up and realize that her ignoring you is not an emergency, it's a gift that gives you time to redirect all that emotional energy inward, toward becoming the man you abandoned when you put her on a pedestal. And yeah, that might sound harsh, but you know it's true. You've spent days, maybe weeks, maybe even months, hoping she would say something that brings you peace. But what if your peace was never supposed to come from her? What if it's built, not given? And what if this is the season where you stop waiting and start forging? You forge it when you feel the sting of rejection and choose stillness instead of reaction. You forge it when you're tempted to reach out, to explain yourself, to ask for clarity, but you don't. Not out of pride, not out of ego, but because you've made a quiet decision that her access to your energy is no longer free. You forge it when you let your emotions rise without drowning in them. You feel the hurt. You acknowledge the loss, but you no longer crumble. Instead, you redirect. You hit the gym not to look good for her, but to reclaim discipline. You pick up that book not to appear wise, but because your mind matters again. You show up for your work, your craft, your mission, not as a distraction, but because your life has purpose again. And that right there, that shift, that's what armor feels like. It's not that you don't feel anymore. It's that you're no longer held hostage by every little emotional fluctuation. You've built a space inside yourself that's unshakable. And the more you invest in that space, the less her silence hurts. Because now it's not silence, it's solitude. It's not punishment, it's preparation. It is not a signal that something is missing. It's the proof that nothing outside of you ever defined your strength in the first place. When she looks back, and trust me, at some point she won't see the man she ignored. She'll see the man who didn't break, the one who stopped reacting, the one who didn't need her validation to stand tall again. And she'll wonder how that happened, how the version of you she thought she could play with became the version she can't read anymore, the version she can't affect anymore. That's the power of emotional armor. It doesn't scream, it doesn't chase, it doesn't beg. It simply exists, unbothered, grounded, and untouchable. So if you've been there, if you're there now, sitting in that silence, unsure if you're healing or just going numb, let me say this clearly: you're not breaking. You're being rebuilt, stronger, sharper, more grounded. And if you feel that shift, if you're choosing stillness over desperation, growth over reaction, then type this below as your own quiet declaration. I don't chase validation. I forge strength. Because once your emotions stop being a battlefield and start becoming a fortress, you don't just survive her silence. You become the man she never thought you'd grow into. And by then, you won't need her to notice, because you'll be too focused on the life you're now strong enough to lead. Secret 6. Build a tribe of strength. Here's something most men don't realize until it's too late. When you're at your lowest, when she ghosts you, ignores you, pulls back, or just vanishes, what destroys you isn't always her silence. It's your isolation. You sit alone. You overthink. You spiral. And you try to fix the pain by yourself, convincing yourself that a real man handles it alone. But that idea, that belief that strength equals solitude, that's a myth, a dangerous one. Because when your emotions start weighing you down, and there's no one around to check your perspective, to ground you, or to remind you who you are, that's when you break. That's when you text her again. That's when you give her power she didn't earn. That's when you start losing yourself. So here's the shift, and it's powerful if you let it in. Strength isn't just internal, it's relational. No man becomes unshakable without a tribe behind him. Not a crowd, not a bunch of drinking buddies or guys who hype you up with empty noise. A tribe. Men who hold you accountable. Men who see through your excuses. Men who have battle scars too, and aren't afraid to tell you the truth when you're slipping. And most importantly, men who remind you of your mission, not your emotion. Because here's the Stoic principle. You've got to understand, you become who you surround yourself with. Your values, your habits, even your emotional thresholds are shaped by the people you let into your mental space. And if you're surrounded by men who crumble at the first sign of feminine indifference, who chase validation, who live for likes and emotional highs, you'll fall into the same trap again and again. But if you lock arms with men who move with clarity, who live by discipline, who don't need attention to feel powerful, then you evolve. Slowly but surely, you stop needing the woman who walked away. You stop obsessing over what she's doing, who she's with, and why she stopped replying. You start building, not because she's watching, but because you're surrounded by men who would never let you stop too small. It changes everything. You see, building a tribe isn't about becoming dependent. It's about refusing to fight battles alone that you were never meant to face in solitude. And in today's world, where fake confidence is loud and real pain is silent, finding men who operate from depth, not ego, is rare. But when you do find them, you hold on to them. Because that tribe becomes your mirror. It shows you who you are and who you're not. And maybe for the first time you start healing not through her return, but through your reconnection with yourself and with other grounded men who have already walked this path and came out wiser, not weaker. This is the opposite of what she expects. She thinks you'll crumble alone. She thinks you'll spiral in isolation, stuck, replaying every word, every look, every moment she went quiet. But instead, you start moving with a new kind of strength. You start laughing again, not to impress anyone, but because you're no longer in emotional debt. That shift doesn't happen by willpower alone. It happens because your environment now holds you to a higher standard. So if you're feeling lost, if her silence still lingers in your chest like a knot you can't untie, maybe what you need isn't another conversation with her. Maybe what you need is a conversation with a man who won't let you fold. That's where your armor gets reinforced. That's where your perspective gets realigned. That's where you become more than just a man recovering from a woman. You become a man rebuilding with intention. Because the truth is, she may never come back. And if she does, it shouldn't be to the same version of you she left behind. By then, you should be different, stronger, sharper, supported. Not emotionally codependent, emotionally clear. So if you're walking this path alone right now, I get it. We've all been there. But don't stay there. Find your tribe. or build one from scratch. Because when men come together with purpose, there's nothing more powerful. And if this hits something in you, if you're ready to stop doing it all alone and start surrounding yourself with men who sharpen you, not soften you, drop this below. I walk with strength. Because real power isn't how loud you roar in public. It's how solid your foundation is when no one's watching. And no man builds that foundation alone. Secret 7. Live with relentless purpose. You want to know what makes a man truly untouchable. It's not muscles, not money, not charisma. It's purpose, but not the kind you wear on your sleeve. I'm talking about a fire that burns so deep inside you that no woman, no silence, no rejection can put it out. When a man lives with relentless purpose, he becomes magnetic without trying. Because now everything he does is rooted in something bigger than himself. He doesn't chase. He doesn't cling. He doesn't react. He moves with intent. And here's where most guys go wrong. When she ignores them, when she pulls away, they don't go inward. They go outward. They chase. They question. They spiral. They make her the center of their mental universe and forget they were ever building one of their own. But if you're here now listening to this, then maybe something inside you is ready to flip that switch. Because her silence isn't your problem. Your lack of direction is. Without a purpose, her silence becomes louder than it really is. Every hour she doesn't text becomes an emotional crisis. Every unanswered message becomes a reflection of your value. You start looking to her for feedback on your masculinity, your worth, your power. And you forget that all of those things were yours before she even showed up. But when you lock into your mission, when your life has velocity, when your days are structured around a vision that makes you jump out of bed at 5 a.m., you stop hearing the silence. Not because you're numb, but because your attention is no longer for sale. That's what relentless purpose does. It takes your focus off of who left, who isn't responding, who doesn't see your value, and puts it back where it belongs, on the life you're building without them. And here's the part women won't tell you, but they feel it instantly. A man with purpose moves differently. He walks slower, but with certainty. He doesn't explain his silence, it's earned. He's not rude. He's just busy. He's not cold. He's just not available for games. And the more he locks into that path, the more she starts wondering why she ever thought she had power in the first place. She might have ignored you to test your reaction. But when your reaction is progress, that changes the dynamic. The gym becomes your temple. Your calendar becomes your battleground. Your morning routine becomes non-negotiable. And your energy shifts from seeking to building. You're no longer waiting to be chosen. You're choosing your path. And suddenly she's the one trying to figure out where she lost access to that version of you. But here's the truth you've got to live with. If your purpose disappears the moment she gives you attention again, it was never real. This isn't about using your goals as bait. It's about becoming so rooted in who you are and what you're here to do that her behavior no longer affects your direction. And I'm not saying you stop caring. You just care less about temporary emotions and more about long-term growth. Because you've seen what it's like to get pulled off your path, and you're done letting that happen. This is your rebuild season. The season where you look at everything that once distracted you, drained you, and delayed your mission, and you cut it loose. No apologies, no explanations, just distance. Because if she wasn't impressed with the man who needed her, let her meet the man who doesn't. That's what purpose does. It makes you undeniable. And don't think you need some perfect business plan or million-dollar idea. Your purpose might be raising your son right, getting your body back, writing the book you've been putting off, building the quiet, focused, fulfilled life no one sees but you. Wake up proud of every single day. Start there. And if it feels lonely at first, good. Purpose should feel lonely, because most people aren't built for the level of focus it takes. But you are. You've been distracted long enough. Now it's time to remember what it feels like to be dialed in. So if you've been drifting, if you've felt the weight of someone else's attention defining your days, this is your reminder. There's more to build, and it won't build itself. Choose purpose, not out of spite, not to impress her, but to finally become the man you promised yourself you'd be before she ever entered the picture. And if that message hits something deep in you, say it out loud. Or better yet, drop it in the comments, I live with purpose. Because the man who stays on his path, no matter who stays or leaves, he doesn't chase validation. He becomes the standard. Secret 8. Let absence build curiosity, not clinginess. You know what ruins most chances men have with women, especially after she pulls away or goes silent? It's not what you said. It's not what you didn't say. It's what you did next. You filled the space she left with desperation. You mistook her absence as an invitation to prove yourself, to remind her you care, to check in, to just see how she's doing. And in doing that, you killed the very thing you needed to protect the most: curiosity. See, the power of your absence lies not in what it lacks, but in what it suggests. When you go quiet, not in anger, not in bitterness, but in self-possession, something happens in her mind. She starts to wonder. She starts to revisit memories. She starts to notice your energy is missing. But the moment you chase, that entire dynamic collapses, because what would have become mystery now becomes neediness. And the worst part, you taught her something you didn't mean to teach. You taught her that she can pull away and you'll always come running. You taught her that she doesn't need to wonder because you'll give her all the answers before she even asks the questions. But curiosity only grows in uncertainty. That's what you must protect. Not with manipulation, not by playing games, but by understanding something deeper. Your presence is a gift. Your energy, your attention, your time, it matters. And if someone removes themselves from that space, your job isn't to beg them back. It's to protect that space like it's sacred, because it is. Now let's be real. When you feel someone slipping away, it's almost instinct to hold tighter, to reach out, to fix it. But that instinct is rooted in fear, not clarity. It's fear of loss, fear of being forgotten, fear of no longer mattering. But you don't build respect or desire by reacting to fear. You build it by choosing restraint, by allowing space, and by trusting that if she's meant to return, she will only when there's something to return to. Your absence isn't punishment. It's not a tactic. It's a return to center. You don't disappear to hurt her ego. You disappear because your energy isn't a reaction. It's a response to who values it. And in that silence, you do not wait. You do not hope. You build. You let the space between you stretch, not so she can feel neglected, but so she can finally feel the difference between being around you and not. That's what creates curiosity. Because here's the thing, attention is easy to get. But curiosity, that's rare. That's earned. That's what keeps you on her mind long after the texts stop. It's not what you said. It's the silence you allowed to breathe. It's how you vanished without bitterness. It's how you didn't need to explain. It's how you never lowered yourself into a war for her attention. You became an open loop in her mind. And that's the power. But you can't fake it. If your silence is rooted in resentment, she'll feel it. If you're just being quiet so she'll miss you, she'll sense the performance. Real absence that builds curiosity only happens when you've actually let go of needing her to fill the space. You let the absence speak for you, and you let your progress echo through that silence. So when she checks your page and sees you smiling, living, working, creating, healing, Not forcing it, not flaunting it, just being fully alive without her. That's when it hits. That's when the curiosity burns. Because now you're not just the man she remembers. You're someone new. Someone she has to figure out all over again. And in a world full of men who over-explain, overreact, and overcompensate, you become unforgettable, not because you screamed louder, but because you stayed silent with power. So if she's ignoring you now, if you feel the weight of that absence and the temptation to fill it, pause, breathe, and remember this isn't about punishing her. It's about reclaiming you. Let the absence stretch. Let the silence hold. Let her wonder. And while she does go, become everything you were too distracted to be. If you've felt that if you're choosing discipline over desperation, then type it below, I protect my energy. Because the man who can walk away not with anger, but with calm certainty, he doesn't beg to be remembered. He's impossible to forget. Secret 9. Become the man she can't read. You ever wonder why some guys never get played with? Why some men walk into a room and women don't test them, don't push their buttons, don't toy with their emotions? It's not always about looks, status, or how much they talk. It's about what they don't show. See, when a man becomes predictable, he becomes powerless. When she knows exactly how you'll react, exactly what you'll say, exactly how much you care, she stops feeling tension. And tension, brother, is the soul of attraction. Now, I'm not talking about being a game player. This isn't about manipulation. It's about becoming a man who is so rooted in himself, so emotionally unshakable, that people don't know what's going on behind your calm exterior. And that mystery, it's magnetic, it's rare, and it drives her curiosity wild. But here's the mistake most men make: they overshare. They over-explain. They try to clarify every emotion, every thought, every move, thinking it'll make her feel safer. And maybe it does, for a while. But too much clarity too soon kills the spark. It removes the discovery, and once there's nothing left to figure out, she checks out. The man she can't read, though. He doesn't speak just to fill silence. He listens more than he reveals. He gives just enough of himself to keep her interested, but never so much that she feels like she's already figured him out. And this doesn't mean you're cold. It means you're controlled. Women test men all the time, not because they're evil, but because they want to feel something. They want to see what you do when you're unsure, when things get uncomfortable, when you're not in full control of the situation. And when your face doesn't shift, your voice doesn't crack, your rhythm doesn't change, they feel it. They don't say it, but they feel it. That sense that you're not moved easily, that your emotions are not available on demand, makes them lean in harder. They want access, and you control that access. Think about the men who live like this. They aren't loud, they aren't chasing, they don't constantly reassure. And yet they're the ones she thinks about when she's alone. They're the ones she checks online without liking anything. They're the ones who live in her mind rent-free, simply because she can't pin them down. To become that man, you have to get comfortable with silence, especially your own. You have to let go of the idea that you owe people an explanation for how you feel. You don't. Your actions speak, your presence speaks, your energy speaks, and often that speaks louder than any words you could ever say. You also have to develop emotional discipline. When something triggers you, whether it's her ignoring your text, pulling back, or even trying to provoke you, you stay still. You observe. You don't react. Because the moment you react emotionally, she reads you. And the moment she reads you, the game's over. But when you stay composed, when you move with calm intention, when you keep certain things to yourself, not out of fear, but out of power, you shift the dynamic. Now she's not just waiting for your reply. She's wondering what you're thinking. She's not just observing your behavior. She's decoding it. She's not sure how much access she has anymore, and that uncertainty. That's what keeps her intrigued. Most men want to be liked. The rare man, he's okay being misunderstood as long as he's respected. Because that kind of man knows once a woman respects you, everything else follows. You don't need to broadcast your value. Let her realize it. Let her work to understand you. Let her feel the difference between every man who throws himself at her and the one who doesn't flinch when she pulls away. That's you now. You're not cold. You're composed. You're not rude. You're selective. You're not distant. You're intentional. And if she ever wants to get close again, she'll have to come with more than curiosity. She'll have to come with consistency. So if you're done being readable, predictable, emotional on command, then own it. Say it. Drop this in the comments. I move in silence. Because the man she can't read becomes the man she can't forget. And once you step into that, her ego won't just crack, it'll collapse. Secret 10. Make your growth her regret. There's a moment she doesn't expect. It doesn't come right away, not during the silence, not when you first go missing from her phone, not even when she posts that photo hoping you'll see it and fold. No. That moment comes when she finally checks back and realizes you're gone not just from her life, but from the man she used to know. You're not chasing. You're not angry. You're not waiting. You've outgrown her. And that's when the regret sets in, not because you begged, not because you proved something, but because you became someone she no longer has access to. See, real revenge isn't loud. It's not showing off, not flexing, not posting fake progress, hoping she'll notice. Real revenge is evolution. It's becoming the man she thought she had time to come back to and finding he doesn't exist anymore. It's standing so deep in your purpose, your peace, your presence, that even if she tried to re-enter your life, she wouldn't even know where to begin. Because while she was waiting for you to spiral, you were rebuilding. While she was testing your emotions, you were mastering them. While she was ignoring your worth, you were refining it. And now your silence doesn't sting, it commands. Your absence isn't a pause, it's a statement. You're no longer available in the way you once were. Not because you're bitter, but because your standards have risen. Your self-respect has matured. Your vision no longer includes people who need to lose you to appreciate you. That's growth. And here's what you need to remember: if she ever regrets losing you, let that regret be hers to carry, not yours to solve. Let her feel the weight of missing a man who didn't get stuck, who didn't turn bitter, who didn't become a version of himself just to win her back. Let her feel what it's like to realize that what she thought was silence was actually rebirth. Let her see that while she walked away, you walked forward. So if you're still healing, still holding the urge to explain, still checking if she noticed you're gone, don't. Keep building. Keep evolving. Because growth, when it's real, doesn't need closure. It becomes the closure. And in time, when she finally looks back and realizes who you became without her, let her sit in that quiet truth she left. And you turn that into fuel. She ignored you, and you made it your fire. She underestimated you, and you made that your edge. That's not just growth. That's the kind of man who doesn't need her to say she's sorry, because her silence already did. And if you made it all the way here, let me say this: you're not weak because you cared. You're not broken because it hurt. But you are becoming someone different now. The version of you who once waited, who once begged, who once lost sleep over someone who pulled away, he's not in control anymore. Because now you've got clarity. Now you're not reacting, you're responding. Now you're not chasing her approval, you're building your standard. And the most powerful thing you can do from this point forward: live like your growth is the only story worth telling. Let her see that silence didn't shatter you, it sculpted you. Let her realize you didn't vanish, you evolved. And when the day comes that she finally looks back, you won't be bitter. You'll be too far ahead. So if this video reminded you of your worth, if it helped you stand taller, breathe deeper, and stop asking for what should have been freely given, then don't just keep it to yourself. Share it with a brother who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more hard truths and grounded guidance. And hey, thank you for showing up here even in silence. That alone says something about the man you're becoming. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay sharp, stay grounded, stay untouchable.